Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to Walker Air Transport NASCAR 2022 Tour. So I'm flying these basically just trying to keep pace through the year. So every time there is a race, or every time a race weekend is coming up, which is pretty consistent, there's a few breaks throughout the year, we go ahead and try to get that flight done so that it's there for you for the weekend. So this week we are heading from the race we've been at Dover, and we're heading down to Darlington in the South Carolina area. So going to be a little bit over an hour of flying time. While I'm sitting here, I'm going to start getting things moving along. It's been a while since I've been in this plane. I'm trying to remember what I need to do. There we go. Main battery switch, always important. Get the avionics turned on, clear the caution light, but yeah, we're going to go through here. Again, we were at the Duramax Dryden 400. It was presented by Relodyne. No idea what that stuff is, but don't need to. They just happen to be the race sponsor. Pretty basic stuff. Chase Elliott walked away with the win after starting fourth. And then we had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ross Chastain rounding out the top three. So my passengers, as always, quite excited. They're just enjoying the fact that they get to see every NASCAR race and that they don't have to worry how to get there and back, because they've already got us contracted to handle that. So coming out of a smaller airport, we're going to be using a Citation this time again. As you can see, we're going between Kilo India Lima Golf, Kilo Foxtrot Lima Oscar, 385 nautical miles. So that's Florence Regional, and we're heading out of Newcastle that we were at before. Alright, so I've got the flight plan entered in. I'm going to be taking a bit of a slight direct route, about half of the length. We're going to go about 151 nautical miles from waypoint basically to the RNAV approach point, and that will kind of work out that way. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to be cruising at 26,000 feet. So we're going to definitely get up there a bit today per what we normally do. Usually we're flying 100 miles, but we're getting close to 400, and probably with the track we're doing and everything, it's probably going to be very close to that. 400 nautical miles and so forth, but should be pretty good shape there. I think we've got everything on. Let's get our beacon, our taxi light, our strobe. We don't need our logo light on. We've got our flaps set to 15. And at this point, we can go ahead and spin the starter up. Let's get my elevator trimmed down a bit. It looks like it's a little high there. So we're going to get that set. Fire that up. Looks like we're good. And then we're going to fire this up. And so we're going to be flying out of runway 27. Alright, so we should have both engines spinning up. So we're going to have a good length of taxi, but we've got wind at 260. I think 6 knots if I... 240 at 6 knots, I apologize. It's 260 down in South Carolina. Got a pretty good breeze. It's 11 knots down there right now. I am flying with live weather, so I'm going to give that a shot. I normally reserve that for the Airbus and the others, but I'm not seeing any cloud cover that's of any major substance. This isn't an ILS approach, and the airport isn't calling for it right now when we get there, so I think we're going to be all right, but everything's running, and at this point we should. Got the flaps set to 15, got the autopilot set. I'm just doing my last checks here, but I think we're good. So let's move ourselves along here. I need to get out onto the taxiway. The easiest way to do that is going to be over this way. I was going to say we were moving a bit, and now we've just stopped again. There we go. So, typical Walker livery. So, kind of what you'd expect. Let me slow this down a bit now, because I don't want to go too fast. But we're going to run over this way. Again, we're not going to 27. We want to get onto this taxiway here. I mean, we want to get to 27, but we need to get all the way down at the other end. So I am running FSLTL. If you remember, we had, let me slow, whoops. Too many things, trying to look around. Let me slow down the engine here. Hopefully that'll work. But we've got, well, we had some GA aircraft. There's not much at this airport other than that. It's a pretty small airport. Maybe we have some more down here. We're going to be passing the fire station and such. That's going to be, so this is the cargo ramp here. So no cargo planes, but I'm thinking out there I'm seeing some things. But we do again have the fire station out in that location is what I'm seeing from the charts for the airport. But if you recall, the last time we were together, we were still using RealTraffic. That has since expired, and now I'm going to be using FSLTL for a bit, just to see how it compares. The challenge at small airports like this is, you know, I think things will be pretty light one way or the other, and, you know, the injector that worked, which was PSXT, that worked with or used RealTraffic, like, gave me stats. I don't really have anything with FSLTL. I can see a car driving. All right, so we're crossing runway 19er. I am still waiting for Beyond ATC to have any information on release. I think, you know, that will be something, at least right now, with what I understand, I'm interested in using when I fly, whether it's something I'm putting on the channel or not, because I think it'll be pretty fun to be able to add that in and not have the kind of the garbage quality ATC that everyone tells me exists within the game. So, looking forward to maybe adding that into the mix at the appropriate time. We've obviously done things like GSX. There's another add-on I use every now and then that I haven't pulled in, self-loading cargo. Probably going to show that on the channel at some point so people know how that works, but I've been having some issues with it, and the person that creates it, so this is really in theory the fire station, but no buildings here, and I think that's kind of what starts to happen when you don't have extra scenery for an airport, but it's pretty hard to find everything, and I'm not really, it's not like I've gone out and looked. I mean, there may be free scenery that I could have put in here, but since I'm just visiting these places periodically, it's not always something that makes sense. Alright, we're going to throw the parking brake on and do our last little bit of checks here. So now we want landing lights, nav lights. Probably should have had our seat belts on for our passengers. I've been pretty bad about that the whole series, now that I think about it. But I've not really gone and done all that. Alright, so we've got everything set. So I think we're pretty good. Alright, so the challenge is we're going to take off on 27, and then we're basically going to need to turn around and head at 112 degrees to our first waypoint. So not exactly where we'd normally want to be, but alright, we're going to speed this up, or rev the engines up, I should say. We're not really speeding anything up. Get ourselves on the runway. We've got, this is a runway's more than long enough, so I'm not going to worry about using every little inch. And we got a plane over there. You know, the big thing is with the injection is going to be, are we seeing planes in the air and so forth, because that was something that RealTraffic did do a great job of giving us. I just don't know that we're going to have that situation. Is this one of those where we're taking off into an oncoming aircraft? That happens sometimes. No, if it is, then no, I think, no, that's just the landing lights. Alright, so probably doesn't quite matter which direction I turn around, but for now we're going to turn. This is probably banking a bit heavy. That's really the 30. So let's back that off a little bit. We're climbing pretty aggressively, but that is the Delaware River that we are turning over at this point. Again, way too aggressive of a turn. I've probably got people hanging onto the seats back there, so let's get that calmed down. Alright, we're going to get our climb rate to, say, 2,500. Let's see. This 2,500 is still pretty aggressive. Maybe 2,600 is good enough. Alright. So, it's lining up, and we're heading out to Oscar Oscar Delta over in Woodstown, New Jersey? I keep forgetting where we're at. I'm zoomed in quite a bit. No, we're leaving Delaware. Not sure. We're crossing the Delaware River, and we're going to the east, and we're heading in that direction. How about that? All right. So put our flaps up now that we're up. I'm going to pull up something so I can see things on the side. Alright, we are over speeding. That is bad. Let's fix that. Once we cross 8,000, I think it'll give us a little bit more speed, but wasn't paying attention. But this may solve itself before we get there. There we go. Alright. So we'll go speed up a little bit more, because otherwise it's going to be a little difficult to climb. So I use another add-on called Little Nav Map, which will show me things. And the things it's really going to show me are, do I have other traffic around? And it does look like it populates very similarly to what I was seeing, with RealTraffic. The difference may be that it might not be live traffic, but at the end of the day, does it matter? So this becomes a bit of kind of, you know, one of the things that has to go into the mix of determining, like, do I want to use something, is we're talking about a free solution versus a paid solution. And a relatively hefty paid solution. You know, we'd be paying in excess of $100 a year to have RealTraffic if I did it constantly. So, you know, where FSLTL really doesn't cost anything. Let me just get some info while we fly here. Alright, so I'm trying to get in good shape, and I apologize for the sound going in and out, but yeah, so we've got Spirit Wings, which I think is what's going on up there, so that already kind of gives me the information that I needed. You know, will I see traffic? That was one of the things I enjoyed. So we're heading back toward the Delaware River again, by the way. Probably less the river, I mean, because I think this is getting us out toward the ocean, toward the Atlantic. You know, might be some bays and so forth. As I get information either from Navigraph or Little Nav Map, I'll let you know. But we've also got a delta that's going to be crossing at about 33,000 feet, it looks like, basically right over us at this point. Coming up, yeah, there he is. So that's a Delta flight, A321. So my real quick assessment, like, this is very, very similar. You know, do I have the same amount of injection? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of planes on the map. I'm zoomed in relatively close on Little Nav Map, and I'm probably seeing 20 planes around, and again, a lot of them are behind me. You know, there's nothing. We've got what looks like a, you know, a different, you know, maybe less a commercial flight, because it's November 120 Hotel Quebec. Looks like an Embraer 170. It says Brickyard, so I think that's, trying to remember who that is. It might be, is that Southwest? But Southwest, I think, shows up as Southwest here on Little Nav Map. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But they're coming along next to us, but they're kind of going to pass behind us. So they're almost abreast of us at this point, and we're really close. We're at about 3,000 feet apart. So it should be nearby somewhere, but no, I think that's it over there. So yeah, it's behind us. So that contrail there, because now we're about the same distance or same height right now. We're both at about 21,500 feet. You know, and the challenge is obviously those planes don't know we're here, per se, because I don't think the injector talks to them as well, but it may. There's a plane a little ways ahead of us that looks like it's might be the same. It's got a Charlie 25 Charlie, which I think is the call sign for the Cessna, so it might be another Cessna. Looks like they're descending below 16,000 feet down in front of us. I'll try to use the joystick maybe. So they're really kind of down and to the right. It's kind of over here somewhere. And they're moving about the same speed. I don't know how far ahead of me they are, maybe 5 nautical miles, so they're not that far ahead. But I don't know. I have no reason to believe that they're not on the map. So that is, I believe, Dover Air Force Base, right there, that we're passing over, or passing near. Right, but at this point, I think I've got enough. We're well on our way. You can see we've got 404 nautical miles. We're reaching cruise altitude here. So that'll start to speed me up pretty soon, so I'll be able to clip along at a better pace. So it's telling me an hour and a half. Thinking we're going to be there sooner than that, just because once we really start moving, we're going to get closer to 300. So that should start to bring that down pretty quickly. But I'm going to fly this in, and when we get closer, we'll join back up. So I'll see you in a bit. So here we are, descending into Florence Regional. So down almost at 7,000 feet. You can see at SVAC we need to be basically around 2,000. So that's where we're headed toward. I've got everything dialed down to below that. When I put in the airport into the system, as far as the landing barometric pressure, it had it at like below sea level, but it looks like it's at 145 feet is what Navigraph is giving me. So since that's based on real info, I'm pretty sure that that is accurate. So let me get back in here, but we're a little over 10 miles from SVAC, and then we're going to get into the airport there. At that point, I think it's showing 44 miles to the airport, but basically just over 10 minutes. So I figured that might work. It's obviously going to take a little bit longer because we're going to be slowing down and so forth. Hard to tell. I don't think we're quite below the cloud cover, so low enough here, but we can see good size patches of the ground. We're below 250, which is kind of what we need to not overspeed and so forth, because for these series, for these tours, since these are for virtual airlines, it's different than, for example, I was doing in FS Economy, where there's not necessarily anything it's tying us to. So my SimBrief plan, it suggested something entirely different from what we have here. So, went ahead and routed it in a way that seemed to make more sense from where we were coming, because I think it wanted me to come in on runway 19er, and we're coming in on runway 27. So we're heading around, and then we'll be landing toward the west, which again is kind of where the wind was blowing from as well. So should work pretty well. Now I think we're starting to dip below the clouds. 5 miles from the waypoint, below 4,000 feet, heading down to about 2,000, and then it looks like we're going to be at 1,600 at Mengi, which is probably going to be about 5 miles from the airport. But approaches are always fun. Sometimes they're, stressful, so forth. It's interesting, though, given how much I was doing in FS Economy. Like, I haven't flown a walker mission for almost 2 weeks. I did a couple of the sessions pretty quickly, just basically in one day in this series, because I wanted to work on RealTraffic, or still have RealTraffic available to me. But this just feels so much more enjoyable and interesting than what I was doing there. I don't know why. Maybe because I've got a few of the other things running, the extra traffic around and that type of thing. Again, there's a United plane at 34,000 feet that's passing relatively close to us. Now again, we're turning. Whoop. Why is it having me go around there? I guess that's alright, because this is gonna take some more time than I need. At this point, I'm gonna let it run that. I'm assuming then it's going to come around. Now it makes sense why it was telling me I had 40 nautical miles, because we're probably adding several miles to do this entry holding pattern. But I guess, you know, if you've got the pattern that you're coming into, this is kind of how they want you to arrive. So pretty broad turn here. We are slowing down a lot, but I'm guessing that could be for a lot of reasons. I don't know. I'm gonna put some more power in here. Shouldn't be too terribly long, but it's probably going to add a few minutes. I mean, once again, the time to K-Flow at the airport was already kind of built in. But, yeah, this just seems like one large turn, even though it's... I suppose it's not really creating a straight leg, but... So we've got some farm fields spread amongst some Carolina pines probably here. But yeah, this is a bigger loop than they would have, so we're going... There's some city up here, Country Club Estates, that we're basically going to be almost looping over. It's going to be off to the right, according to my VFR chart. But I'm guessing, yeah, we're kind of at the turning point here, so there we go. We're looping back around. No, I guess the K-Flow thing maybe didn't include this, but if it somehow starts to continue and loop back again, I guess then I'll have a problem. But let me look at the... Yeah, I guess let me check the flight plan. See where it thinks it's going. What is happening? Oh, legs. Legs are what I want. Alright. So we'll turn. So yeah, it's at hold at SVAC, which is really not what I need. But once he turns back around and is heading properly on the 272 heading, then I'll go ahead and go direct to Menji, and that should solve that. Well, I'm going to try that and see. Let's see if we exit the hold. Oh, okay, because then that was cancel exit. So in theory, this should go. This is a little bit of a learning thing for me. I've not flown a hold on autopilot. So, alright, I'm going to put this down to say 200. I don't know why it's not going to go down there, but it isn't. Because, yeah, otherwise we're going to cancel the exit, and that's not what we want to do. So, about 15 miles from the airport. So we start to line up, 272, so we're going to probably come back a little bit. But if it somehow starts to turn, then we'll adjust. But I am curious. I'm going to try to keep that there and see if it exits out, because that would be a nice thing to know. Just nervous because I don't want to. I mean, I've got room. Sorry for that little froggy sound there, but yeah, I've got a little bit of distance before I get there, and then it should go ahead and exit out. No V-path this leg. I don't understand. Oh, I see no V-path, so that's okay. Alright, well now it's... Alright, now it went to Menji. Alright, so that did exit the hold. That's good. Alright, so now there is a V-path. And that's going to get me down, so we're at almost 2,000 feet. See, we're kind of floating around a bit. We probably have a top of descent, yeah, further out, so we're kind of staying at this level, but we can see the runway pretty clearly, so not that hard to tell. But yeah, a little bit of a overcast sky, nothing substantial. Pretty light traffic. This isn't, I assume, a heavily trafficked airport, so be a little bit of what I'd expect. There we go. It looks like it just put VPath in. There we go. We're going down 300 because we're dropping down to what, 1800 or 1600. We're not going very far in the next mile, and then the rest of it is getting us to the runway. Alright, but at this point I'm within about 5. I'm going to lower my gear. We're going to start slowing ourselves down, deploying our flaps, trying to do that a little closer to when I need to do things. Alright, and then this is dropping down. So you can see it's kind of taking us closer to now 1,000 feet per minute. Or, well, that would be what it is. Alright, once we get to 200, we can deploy some flaps. 200 on the airspeed is what I meant. Man. I knew it had like 11 knots and gusts, but we are buffeting around a bit. Seems to have stabilized a little bit with the flaps. So hopefully... Alright, I'm going to back this off to the lower 70s. That will help slow down, get us to, again, the point where I can deploy some flaps, hopefully have a good solid landing here.
500.
Alright. So, go full flaps. 300 feet. Man, we are bouncing. Alright, the lights in theory show that we're a little lower than we want to be, so let me take that off. Alright, now I'm going to back off the engines entirely. There we go. That's kind of the glide path we want. In theory, we land after this. Oop, a little bit of a bounce. Ooh, that was a harder bounce. Not sure which one will register, but... Alright. So, let's take a peek at the airport. I think everything's off to the right here, it looks like. Oh, that's another runway, so I want to keep going. But yeah, all the buildings seem to be there. So we're going to exit this way. We'll head on up. Alright. So yeah, there are crossing runways here. Speed up a little bit more. Zoom in a bit and see. Alright, so the general aviation ramp is over past the control tower. We basically... I suppose we can head in from the front, so... I think that tall building, so I can turn off the flight director now. That tall building is the fire station. There's the control tower. Right. And wind is 12 knots as we thought. Alright. So we head on up here toward the control tower, and then we can kind of go across a little bit and The general aviation ramp is over there to the left of the control tower. So let's see where this takes us. It's kind of a rounded section here. Guessing we got to get past the grass. That would be kind of logical if I was doing that. I don't know that the taxiway is really... No, it's not giving me anything specific, so we're just gonna head on over here. And it doesn't look like we have really specific parking spots or anything, just kind of get where we need. So I'm not going to get too far forward. Put ourselves here. Parking brake on. So there we go. And we'll go ahead and shut those engines down. Alright, well, it actually has me as touchdown at 61 feet per minute, so that's pretty light as a feather. I don't know that you can get lower than that. That's a bit crazy. But there we are. So, again, small little airport, but that's, I think, probably pretty typical of what you're going to be doing when you're visiting NASCAR circuits, given some of the tracks are not really near large cities and so forth. Not sure where Darlington is related to the airport, but I'm sure it's nearby. I don't know. Again, I'm not seeing any other aircraft parked here, but it is a small airport, so because I'm still running the injector, I would expect to see something, but it is what it is. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you're enjoying the tour and moving through the NASCAR season. And at this point, I'm going to wrap this up. So if you've enjoyed this, haven't dropped a like, please consider doing that. And if you are not a subscriber to the channel, please consider doing that. It'll give you a quick way to see everything that I've got coming out as I just continue to play different things and share what I'm learning and what I'm enjoying out there for you to enjoy and kind of watch in the background of your life or whatever, however you consume this material. But if you become a subscriber, that certainly makes it a little bit easier for you. And I will see you next time.